So we saw David Beckham come to MLS. Now he's an owner. Lionel Messi is here now. There are others going to be coming, guaranteed. But this is just a retirement program, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's changing somewhat. I mean, you're right. Most of these superstars come at the end of their careers. They're not coming in their prime. The minute they start signing superstars in their prime, that's going to be the tipping point, really. But Messi's still a World Cup winner recently. Mm-hmm. He's still very, very good. You know, one of the best players in world football. I think you're seeing the whole designated player model now. That the DP model is essentially it's like a franchise tag, basically, right? You get a player beyond the cap, except for a certain amount of money. You are seeing younger DPs from other parts of the world coming in, lesser known players, which have worked to some degree. But Messi's a different beast entirely. Mm-hmm. He might be the key to that lock, which will encourage other players, younger players, to come over. You know, Don Garber, the commissioner, is very, very ambitious. He wants it to be a top league, you know, within 10 years. But I've been hearing that for a long time, more than 10 years now. It's making progress, certainly. But I think Messi is just that they've never seen anything like Messi before. Even when Pele came to the NASL, John, I mean, right. Different era in sports, right? Obviously, the world was much bigger then. You couldn't see these players, so these mystical beasts arrived. You didn't know who they were. Messi was, everyone knows who Messi is. They've seen him play for the last 20 years at Barcelona and PSG because it's so available.
Right.
But when Pele came, he also came out of retirement too. He wasn't much older. People forget that. He hadn't been playing for a while. They convinced him to come back out of retirement and join the Cosmos. Messi's, like I said, coming off a World Cup win. And he's here to dominate, and he's doing just that. It's just a different beast, I think. I've never seen anything like
it. Now, you talked about this window of no MLS games. Inter Miami, let's face it, they were a bad MLS team. I mean, they were one of the worst.
I mean, thank God for TFC. They weren't quite the worst.
Yeah.
No,
but so they've created this second tier of league play for them. So now that they're the top of the table there.
Well, you look at the books, the odds are incredible. So this is Inter Miami been arguably the worst team in MLS for the last couple of years. This year they were just dreadful. And then they signed Messi and his mate Sergio Busquets just in time for this Leagues Cup tournament. Last time I looked, they were, I think, third favorites to win it. They were favorites to win it. Sorry, at this point, they're favorites to win the entire thing. For MLS alone, where they're 12 points back of a playoff spot, they're, I believe, fourth or fifth favorites to win the thing now, all because of Leo Messi and Sergio Busquets coming aboard. They've turned this team around. They really have. In a sport where it's very rare that one player can really, turn a team around. He's done just that. Now, Busquets is big, Jordi Alba, but the whole team's elevated themselves. They're playing a different type of football with a new manager. I've never seen a turnaround like it in all the years I've watched soccer so quickly. It's quite the story. It's incredible, and it's a fairy tale at this point.
James, I just look at the goal scoring from Messi. I mean, it's taken people seasons, 20, 30 games to score 6 or 7 goals, and here he rattles off 7 in 4 or 5 games kind of thing. What does that say? What do some of the people overseas think when they see him come to this league and do that? I mean, there's got to be some kind of John, you were around hockey in the expansion. Well, he's going to the WHA, and sure, he's scoring all these goals, but he'd never do that in the NHL. I mean, they've got to have some sort of feelings about him coming to the MLS.
Oh, I think it just justifies the stigma against it, right? I think people did look at it as a lower league, not the same quality as the elite leagues, and that's just proving it. Okay, it is Leo Messi, but it's also Leo Messi in his mid-30s. So it just justifies the that stigmatized approach to MLS football that, it's not quite there just yet. You watch those games, Messi's one thing, but I love watching Sergio Busquets, right, who's a midfielder, because he's used to playing in the top leagues in world football. And you watch him in MLS, he gets the ball in his foot, and he's waiting for the pressure, and it just doesn't come. And he's almost laughing out there, like, what do I do with the ball now? I've got so much time and space on the ball. It's quite hilarious actually to watch, especially his first game. That first game was crazy. He didn't know what was going on. So, you know, it's a growing league, it's a developing league. I really believe in MLS, but it just isn't close to the elite leagues, and this is proving it at this point for sure.
Well, but Messi actually turned down more money elsewhere to go to MLS.
Saudi Arabia, yeah. I mean, listen, the Mbappe deal was Messi's deal, right? He was offered the same money, and obviously Ronaldo, his arch rival, left a year earlier, went to Saudi Arabia. Now, let's not say that, you know, Leo Messi's got this conscience and is this ethical monster. You know, he's been representing Qatar, who owned PSG for a long time. He had a deal in place to promote Saudi tourism for a long time. He goes where the money is. But I think he probably looked at it as long term. There's maybe more money in MLS and capturing North America than it is going to Saudi Arabia. You know, like the Beatles, right? They weren't really legit until they made America. Maybe he thinks the same thing. This is a guy that's got a legacy. He's going to play here for a couple of years. He might get ownership. He might buy a club at some point. Apple's all over him. Adidas all over him. There's a lot of money coming into Leo Messi right now.
No, listen, I think he just wanted to go to a Publix grocery store. You know, that's face it. I think he can, and I mean, that to me now it makes sense to me when you told us that they're doing this documentary on his life. You had to have one of the greatest athletes in the world today go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
When do you think the last time in France or in Spain or anywhere in the world Lionel Messi was in a grocery store?
The last time he went to a grocery store was when he was 11 years old and his mother sent him. That's the last time he went to a grocery store. And
we're all so cynical, but yes, you're 100% right.
Here's the other thing, James. The guy who's attracted him in David Beckham is no small potatoes either. So there had to be something out of that from Messi's point of view, saying, well, you know, this is David Beckham calling. Money aside, respect. You know, they always say game recognizes game, and there had to be a respect factor there in that as well, don't you think?
Oh, I think it's a great point. Yeah, I think when Beckham calls, you listen, right? Obviously a great player, but also off the pitch, even more successful. And what he's done, you know, part of his deal back in 2007 was to get this franchise of his choosing at some point for, I think, around 20 million. Now a franchise is worth 400 million. That's what it takes to get a franchise fee in MLS. So he got a great deal, obviously, and he's you know, Beckham gets criticized because he had the squeaky voice when he was younger, right? And all this, you know, he's just a kid from London, you know, not educated. He's a lot smarter than people think, and he's got very smart people around him, and as has Messi. So I think when Beckham calls, Messi listens. He sees what Beckham's done with his brand in North America and how it's still, even now, post-playing career, everyone knows who David Beckham is. He's still very visible. I think Messi sees that. And Messi's a bit of a reluctant hero too, right? I mean, he's not a guy that really loves the spotlight as far as the cameras. He's not going to go out there and, you know, middle of a pitch and start talking to the fans, you know, and he's just not who he is. He lets his football do the talking. So he better build his brand now while he's playing for when he retires, because a bit like Beckham, perhaps he wasn't that comfortable at first.
No,
you know,
but the one thing is though that David Beckham spoke English, and that when you just to be able to do those damn Lay's commercials with Peyton Manning, you have to be able to speak. And now I don't know this. I've heard Messi speak his native tongue, but does he speak any English?
No, I don't think so. No, I mean, I think he said a few words in his the great unveiling of a month ago.
Right.
He may have said a few words, but very few. Yeah, Sergio Busquets spoke beautiful English. He did that, but not Messi. Messi talks with his feet. He really is one of those athletes. You know, it's not about the show around him. Like Ronaldo, obviously one of the best ever. But there's always a show around Ronaldo. With Messi, there really hasn't been that show. It's always been about what he's doing on the pitch.
MLS better than the Saudi League?
Yeah, at the moment, although the amount of players they're signing right now could change pretty soon. I mean, I say that. I hope it is. You know, I'm not watching the Saudi League right now. I find it pretty vulgar, although I'm open to any kind of offer from there.
Yeah.
But I think MLS has been more established longer at this level anyway, so it's still got it. But there will be at some point. There's going to be a mashup, right? There's going to be a tournament at some point. There has to be between these two leagues.
James, you talked about Messi coming over at this point, and now some of the younger players, more in their prime or closer to their prime, coming over to MLS. Do you think the fact that somebody like Messi has come over and done that might influence some of these younger players? I mean, even for a little bit, they might go back, but is it a possibility now for some of them?
I think it legitimizes the league far more. Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want to play against Leo Messi? A lot of these kids would. I think that more so, you're seeing more players making moves to Europe now for big money from MLS. That's really changing things. You're seeing a player like Almiron, who plays at Newcastle right now. He moved from Atlanta, doing really, really well and making his name now in Europe. But MLS was that stepping stone. I think you're seeing that more
Well,
now.
Alfonso was at the top of that list.
Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, absolutely. Right. A guy that started here. But I think you're going to see some players in Europe or in South America seeing MLS as that stepping stone to get to a big league in Europe as well.